Hey, what's up, guys? It's Pear, the most extreme YouTuber of all time. And I'm Luigi. Yeah, and we're here to watch the video called 8 Unsolved Mysteries That Happened on Halloween by Mr. Nightmare. So, let's go. Yeah, let's go.
Halloween is the one night of the year where being scared is supposed to be good fun. However, amid all the harmless
Well,
activities like
not
trick-or-treating,
all the time.
sometimes genuinely frightening and disturbing things
Yeah,
can
look at
happen.
those kids.
This
They got
includes some
frightened.
horrific murders and
Yeah,
unexplained disappearances, which are far more terrifying than any haunted houses or corn mazes. These are 8
even
unsolved
Michael Myers.
mysteries and disappearances that happened on Halloween.
Number
In
8.
2015, 24-year-old Michael Miller and his friends were hosting a Halloween party
Sure
in
it's
the
not
house that they
Maya's?
rented together on Halloween night.
Probably.
Michael says they invited around 40 people and told their friends to
Ooh,
bring friends, and the crowd that came was actually around 40 people. At
must be
Halloween
rich.
parties, typically people's
Yeah.
costumes don't cover their faces unless part of the costume involves a mask or a face covering. But even when a
Huh.
costume will include a mask, usually at least at some point at a party, it would be expected for the wearer to take it off just to let their face breathe for a little bit. That's why Michael and his
Yeah,
housemates were
that's what they hate
suspicious
about
when there was one
masks.
guy in basically regular
Yeah, me too.
clothes, but who was wearing a gruesome looking Halloween mask referred to as an Elephant Man
Ugh.
mask. He was sitting
Oh,
in a
that's
chair, just
disgusting.
seemingly doing
Yeah,
nothing,
looks like Victor
making some of the
Crowley.
guests confused
Yeah,
and
without the cut.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Nobody knew who it was, so Michael eventually went up to the guy and asked who it was, to which the man replied Billy in a deep voice. Michael said he didn't know any Billy and asked him to remove his mask for a second. The man refused, so Michael asked the man to leave, and he did. At this same party, two girls fell unconscious, likely to being slipped Rufalin, and that man was suspected to be
Conscience.
the culprit. Even more, that same Saturday night,
They might
two
have got
neighboring houses were
wasted.
broken into and
Yeah,
robbed.
totally.
That masked man was never identified, and while it's not 100% certain that he was responsible for slipping something in anybody's drinks or for the nearby break ins, it would be a
Oh
fairly
dear.
safe assumption.
Well, that's worse than being robbed.
Cindy Sung was a
Yeah.
21-year-old
Number
South Korean
7.
student attending Penn State University. In 2001, she dressed up in a bunny costume and attended a Halloween party at a nightclub near the college. She stayed at the club until
Oh,
around
look, a
2 a.m.,
rainbow.
then left for
Oh,
her
that's
friend's
cool.
apartment where she spent the next few hours hanging out with her friends. She was then dropped off at her apartment at 4 a.m., and this was the
Oh.
last anybody ever saw of her. After
What?
Cindy was reported missing, a search of her apartment yielded no signs of a struggle or foul play. Police knew
Oh.
she had made it inside
Oh,
because
what
her
is
fake
that?
eyelashes and the backpack that she'd worn to the party were found inside the apartment, as well as her cell phone. The only things
What?
missing were her purse and wallet,
Oh.
suggesting that she'd possibly went out again. Her credit card showed no activity after her disappearance, and neither the authorities nor her family believed that she vanished willingly. However, after her disappearance, a witness reported seeing a man resembling Cindy in the Chinatown district of Philadelphia. She was
What?
inside a vehicle with an unidentified male and appeared to be crying for help. In
Oh dear.
2003, a man named Hugo Marcus Selinsky was arrested after the remains of five people were found buried in his backyard.
Oh my
Selinsky
god.
told police that he and
Oh
another man,
dear.
Michael Kurkowski Jr., abducted Cindy off the street and kept her imprisoned in his walk in safe until she perished, and then buried her on the property. However, none of the
What a
remains
messed up
discovered could be
person.
identified as
Yeah.
Cindy, and the only person who could confirm this was Kurkowski, but his body was one of the many buried on Selinsky's land. The case remains open to this day, and no evidence exists to link Selinsky.
Oh, come on. I hate
On
commercials.
Halloween
Me
night in
too.
2002, 21-year-old University of Minnesota student
Okay,
Chris
no
Jenkins
commercials.
and some of his friends visited a keg party before going to a place
I
called the
love
Lone
cake.
Tree Bar
Me
and
too.
Grill. The bar was in downtown Minneapolis, where Chris was attending school. The group arrived around 10:30 p.m. But around an hour and a half later, Chris was removed from the bar by security for reportedly being too drunk, and he was banned from returning. Chris was
Eh.
left out in the cold. It was as low as 20 degrees Fahrenheit that night, and he was only wearing his costume, which consisted of Native American attire, and he was without his wallet, cell phone, or
He looks
keys.
like an
From this
Indian.
point, he vanished
Yeah.
without a trace. The area around the bar he was kicked out from was not considered safe, with a very high crime rate, and it was
All
definitely
bars
not
are
an ideal
never
place to be
safe.
roaming around at night
Yeah.
alone and intoxicated. When no word was heard from Chris, his family hired a private investigator who was later told by witnesses that on that same night that Chris went missing, a large group of men attacked a lone person, presumed to be some kind of gang initiation, just across the street from the bar where Chris was last seen.
Oh
But that
dear.
wasn't enough concerning news for the family. Two scent tracking dogs on separate days picked up Chris's trail on the sidewalk where the attack was alleged to have taken place and
Oh,
followed it to
good.
the same spot inside the parking garage
Oh,
next
that's a
door,
good dog.
where a few drops
Yeah.
of blood and a single red feather were found. A feather
Oh.
that clearly belonged to the costume Chris was wearing. Strangely, that's where
Oh,
the trail
dear.
ended. Chris wasn't
Oh.
found until 4 months later, when his body was found floating in the Mississippi River, a victim
What?
of what was originally believed to be either a suicide or an accidental drowning.
Oh,
But
mamma
further
mia.
investigation caused the medical examiner to change the official cause of death from accidental drowning to homicide.
Oh.
This
Number
one was
5.
sent to me back in 2015. In
That's the same scene from
2007,
Trick or
a
Treat.
12-year-old boy
Yeah,
named
the one with
Bradley was trick or
Sam.
treating with a group of friends in
Whoa.
Colorado. The boys who were with Bradley early on in the night said that they were just going along with their trick or treating when one of the boys picked up on the fact that Bradley was missing. They retraced their steps in an attempt to find him and disturbingly found his cowboy hat sitting by the curb. Bradley was
Oh,
dressed in a
it's right
homemade
there.
cowboy costume
Yeah.
that day. A little ways up the road, Bradley's bag of candy was found as well, spilled out onto the street, almost leaving a trail.
Oh,
That
good.
was the last of Bradley's possessions that were found by the boys that
Oh,
night.
that's a nice
It's
house.
unknown how
Yeah.
Bradley disappeared without anyone noticing, but the most likely explanation would have to be that Bradley at some point wandered off on his own, leaving him vulnerable to predators on their favorite night of the year.
Ooh.
But the only thing that
I
would
hate
take
that
away some
track.
credibility of that
Yeah, me
possibility
too.
would be the fact that a week later,
That's a vehicle I
Bradley's
never
mother found
trust.
his glasses in the
Yeah.
backyard. The strange part was that Bradley's friends all said he was wearing glasses the last time they saw him,
Oh.
indicating he may have went back home in between the period that he went missing. No information was followed up with since.
That's a great animation.
David Stone was
Yeah.
a successful stock market analyst, making good money and a stable career, described by friends and family as a bright, sharp young man. However, a few days before Halloween of 1988, he left his home during a Halloween party when a heated argument with a party guest turned violent. This
You
was
did.
strange because anyone close to him would say he's the least violent person they knew. A few people reported seeing David sitting next to his car on a highway, until he apparently set off on foot into the desert. He was spotted by witnesses several times that day, including a farmer who found him wandering around on his property severely underdressed for the cold weather. He was
And
apparently muttering
what?
something about being in search of the beast before vanishing for good.
Beast.
He was last
What
seen on
beast?
Halloween Day. His car was found on November 5th off the same highway. Search teams headed north from the location of the car and found two pyramids made out of rocks and surrounded by a triangle, with David's Rolex
Oh,
lying next to one of them.
pyramid.
3 miles further
Go and
north, they
watch.
found a Fibonacci sequence, which is a
Sandwash.
number pattern used in stock
Dirt
analysis
road.
etched into the soil.
Car found.
Bloodhounds were able to track David's scent along the highway 13
Questions
miles north
remain
from where his car
about
was
man's
abandoned,
death.
but the trail
Oh.
went cold. His family found a riddle-like note inside his vehicle that read, "They think the word is in the safe. 6 knives in Rob's room. Use buy your tea and use take your chances Halloween." Use buy your
What?
teas and take your chances is a play on an old saying about stocks and gambling. And in the New Age movement, having 6 knives in your house would mean a regretful yet necessary rite of passage. Two hikers found
Oh.
David Stone's remains in the desert in 1992, 4 years after he went missing. Despite having no idea what caused his erratic behavior or how and why he died, there was no sign of any foul play.
Oh.
In
Number 3.
1981, a Manhattan couple named Ronald Sisman and Elizabeth Platzman were murdered in their Greenwich Village apartment in the late hours of the night.
Ugh.
The
Ugh.
two were brutally
Whoa.
beaten before being
Whoa.
shot in the head, and the
Oh my
apartment was
god,
completely
shots?
ransacked. Sisman, the boyfriend, was
Ugh.
allegedly involved in drugs, so it was initially thought that that may have been a possible motive for the
Ugh.
killings.
Creepy.
However,
Yeah.
the case took a bizarre turn when a prison informant claimed that one of his fellow inmates had somehow predicted the crimes weeks before it actually happened. That
Predicted.
inmate was the son of Sam killer David Berkowitz, an American serial killer who pleaded guilty to 8 shootings that began in New York in 1976.
Oh man, this theme song's so
There's even
creepy.
speculation
Yeah.
that Berkowitz was involved with a
Giant worm.
satanic cult and didn't commit all those murders on his own. According to the informant, Berkowitz told him that his alleged cult was planning to break into an apartment in Greenwich Village on Halloween night and perform a ritual murder by shooting a couple in the head before ransacking the place to remove incriminating evidence.
Oh
This description
jeez.
matched exactly what went down in their apartment. When questioned, Berkowitz claimed that Ronald Sisman possessed snuff footage of one of the Son of Sam shootings and was planning to hand it over to the authorities to avoid some drug charges.
Oh
To this
dear.
day, no evidence was found to support Berkowitz's claims. Therefore, no one knows if the murders of Ronald and Elizabeth had anything to do with the Son of Sam case.
Wow, so many mysteries are never
It was
solved.
Halloween night of
Yeah.
1996 when 40-year-old Veronica Safransky of Argyle, Minnesota
Veronica.
went missing. Veronica attended a Halloween costume party with a friend at Mick's Bar and Grill in
Is it
Warren,
Lady
Minnesota
Gaga?
a few nights
Oh,
before
I hope
Halloween.
so.
Veronica's friend was
Maybe
unable to
Taylor
locate
Swift.
her inside the
Yeah.
bar around midnight. However, witnesses told authorities that Veronica was seen with a man
Oof.
named Kevin
That
Skierman
skeleton's
leaving
so
the bar
creepy.
together. They
Yeah.
left the venue in his black pickup truck with Oregon license plates. This was the last moment Veronica was seen. She was reported as a missing person later the next day. And later
Mere
that year,
weird.
a belt believed to be part of her costume was found along a country road not
What?
far away. An extensive search of the area didn't yield any evidence as to where she could be. Kevin Skierman, the man she was seen leaving the bar with,
Still
had a
missing.
history of sexual assault convictions, and he admitted to departing Mick's
$15,000
Bar and Grill with
reward.
Veronica, but claimed that he did not know what happened to
Ooh.
her afterwards.
Turkey.
He had never
I
been
love
charged in
turkey.
connection with her
Me
disappearance.
too.
Authorities have said that there are many wooded areas in Marshall County where Veronica's remains could be easily concealed. In fact, at the start of each hunting season, the sheriff asks local hunters to be on the lookout when traversing the wooded lands, as her body has still yet to be located. Her case remains unsolved.
Ooh. Last one.
On Halloween in
Oh.
1955, Marilyn DeMond took her 2-year-old son Stephen and 7-month-old daughter Pamela to a bakery in East Meadow, New York. While she was inside
Is
the
that baby
bakery,
angry?
Marilyn
I don't
irresponsibly
know.
left Stephen and his sister, who was inside a carriage, to wait outside the front. When she left the bakery 10 minutes later, she was mortified to discover that both Stephen and the carriage were gone. Shortly thereafter, the carriage with Pamela still inside was discovered about a block and a half away. However, Stephen was nowhere to be found.
Oh
He has
dear.
not been seen since. In many cases where infants are abducted, it's theorized that the perpetrator wanted a child of
Andy
their own and
Stroller.
decided to raise the missing infant
Oh
under a
dear.
new name. Over the years, DNA testing has been utilized in an attempt to determine if Stephen DeMond was ever given a new identity. At one point, investigators noticed that Stephen
Missing
bore a
boy.
resemblance to the infamous boy in the box, an unidentified
And
child who
pray
was found murdered inside a cardboard
demand.
box in Philadelphia in 1957.
Oh
However,
dear.
after DNA testing, all indications were that the boy in the box was not Stephen DeMond. In 2009, a Michigan man named John Barnes came forward, believing he might be Stephen, but some
What?
DNA testing also ruled this out. It's possible that an adult Stephen DeMond might be living another life somewhere under a different
Adult?
identity, unaware that he was
Was
once
he
taken from
magically
his real
transformed?
family. It may also be a
Probably.
possibility that Stephen was murdered long ago, and his body was never found. Either
Oh
way,
dear.
his current whereabouts, dead or alive, continue to remain unknown, and at this point, will probably never be known.
Yeah, may never. Boy, that's creepy. Yeah. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Give us a like and subscribe. And we'll see you on Halloween. Bye. Happy Shocktober. By the way, I hate Shocktober.